otra forma de hacer radio, una emisora diferente, con contenido especializado. Sigue toda nuestra programación en www.ecoradio.com. Ecoradio.com amplía sus fronteras digitales. Por eso te invitamos a que te suscribas a nuestro canal de YouTube, Ecoradio, en donde encontrarás los mejores programas, el mejor contenido y podrás escuchar nuestra señal online www.ecoradio.com, la vitrina del talento latino. Ecoradio.com, otra forma de hacer radio. Síguenos en nuestras redes sociales, en Twitter e Instagram como @Ecoradio y en Facebook como Ecoradio. Ecoradio, otra forma de hacer radio. Estás escuchando Ecoradio.com, la vitrina del talento latino.
So, hello everybody. Today, my name is Jürgen, and I'm the owner of Instituto Nordico. I think some of you have met me or seen me here on Ecoradio beforehand. And today, as always, we are here with Ecoradio, with ecoradio.com. And today we've got a quite interesting guest here with us. And she's actually from Spain, but we decided to do it in English because it's quite a difficult subject. And her name is María Asunción Valiente Bermejo, and she's from Spain. But I think she prefer that we call her nickname is Asun. I think you prefer that we say Asun, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, Asun is the way everybody knows me. So. Yeah.
And she's a senior lecturer in welding at University West. She's done a PhD. She did a PhD in Spain, and then she's now doing a post PhD in Sweden. So I think she got quite a lot of knowledge in welding. So, Asun, tell us about your background.
Well, in fact, I got the opportunity to come to Sweden to go ahead with my postdoctoral studies, and currently I'm, doing research and doing lecturing in welding technology. That's the truth, specifically in welding metallurgy. Well, my background, I studied chemical engineering in my long ago. I'm not going to say how long it was, but long ago. Then after my bachelor in chemical engineering, I decided to have a master in welding, also in Barcelona, at the University of Barcelona. After that, I started working for the industry, for the welding industry in Spain. And then is when I met very interesting people in the welding industry, and then I decided to pursue my doctoral studies. And then I was a kind of a strange student, because I was at that time in Spain, that was not easy to combine the work with the studies. But I managed, and then I was working for this industry for about 10 years, and I was in parallel running my PhD studies. So I had the opportunity to go to England and to have some samples prepared there in England. And after that is when I presented my PhD results, and I presented that in front of the International Institute of Welding. And because of that opportunity that I had to present my results there is when I got, some interest from Sweden in my work. And that is why I landed in Sweden afterwards. So my PhD studies were very well appreciated here. And then I got the opportunity to work here. But, it has been like lifelong learning. In my case, you start with something, then you continue with your master, but then you start in the industry, but you don't forget about what you really want to do. You want to do research, and then I was all the time in parallel combining the industry and the academia. And now I'm settled down in Sweden since 2017.
Yeah. You've been there for 3 years now. So how long is it supposed? How long is it post the PhD?
Yeah, it's something about 2 years. So it's 2 years. I had this project, this postdoctoral project started in 2014. It's a bit strange because I was working here in the PostDoc project, but I was not living here. So I was up and down from Spain to Sweden. But then I had my son, and then is when I decided, okay, now it's time to move or time to leave, but I cannot stay traveling all the time. So that's why we finally settled down here. But the postdoc project was from 2014 to 2016 and extended about 1 year because of the parental leave. Yeah. So that's a bit about my background. A bit strange, maybe, not so straightforward. Normally you find people in the academia who had, this academic career, but I'm quite unusual because I have also quite a long experience in the industry too. So it's, yeah.
But I think it's quite good that you got quite a lot of experience in the industry because you know what the industry need. So I think it's nothing bad. It's very, very good, actually.
No.
Fantastic. And I've been looking a little bit on your profile, and I find it very interesting that you're doing that you've done research in welding. But so when it comes to the research you did in welding, what did you find out? Tell me a bit more about the research you've done.
Yeah. I can briefly summarize it. I must say that weld is in my veins, because my father was a welder, and also, one of my uncles also had a welding company. Afterwards, my father got his own company, and in our family, it's a lot of us. Then my 4 cousins are also in the business, and another one of my uncles too. So it's a lot of us involved in welding. I don't know why, but it happened, and then. I was always surprised, when my father was testing machines. I saw those sparks from welding. I was amazed. I was always wanted to know more and more, and why we can join metals with welding. So that was my kind of motivation. Welding has been always with me and all around my family. And then what I'm doing in my research is try to understand what happens to stainless steels, and in general all metals, but I'm working more with stainless steels. What happens to the microstructure and to the properties of stainless steels when we weld these steels? Because, when we heat the materials, when we bring heat into the materials, we make things happen in the microstructure. And this results in different properties and different uses then for the material. So we can change the corrosion resistance, we can change the toughness, we can change different properties in the materials when we weld the material. So when we apply heat to the material. And that is mainly what I do. I try to understand which changes happen in the material when different welding processes, when we apply different welding processes, and then try to understand this relationship between the microstructure and the properties. So that is what I'm trying to do, what is my research focus on. And recently, very related to welding, is additive manufacturing. That is very, trendy nowadays. So we are applying welding sources, so TIG, MIG sources, or even laser sources, and then we are building up structures using welding power sources. So that is also part of my research nowadays.
So I guess you find out many things during your research. And what do you think what do you think will be the benefits when it comes to the industry globally? What you have found out?
Well, I don't know if my contribution can really make some clear and straightforward benefit to the industry. But with the research that I'm doing, we try to guide the industry in terms of procedures, which are the best procedures to deal with welding. So that is quite common output from our research. So we can recommend the companies, the industry, which is dealing with welding, we can recommend with procedures, which are the considerations, which are the best practices to really cope with the weld of these sometimes challenging materials. So that is what I see as the most common. In some cases, in some projects, there is nothing done before in your specific material. Then you start building up information from nothing. And in other cases, so the application is a bit far from the final user. But in other cases, we are very close related to the end user. And then the application is more clearly visible. So yeah, it depends.
Yeah. And so which properties are you looking for in a material? What is a good material for welding? Yeah.
Well, that's a very tricky question. The question, I think, it's okay. The material, the steel companies or the material companies, they produce materials for specific applications. Mm-hmm. So they, for example, for corrosion, when you are in front of the sea and or you have boats or you have specific applications that are necessary to resist the corrosion. So we have the steel companies who have produced specific materials for that purpose. But what happens is that these materials that have been developed most of the times, they develop in a kind of deliverable status or situation. But then when they try to build up structures with these materials and they try to join these materials with welding, then the microstructure and the properties that the material would have in the delivery condition does not really match with the microstructure and properties that the material has when you weld it. So that is the tricky thing. So there is no perfect welding method. There is no perfect material. There is nothing perfect in this world. So the thing is which requirements we have. Imagine that we are sitting in a chair and we have a pore. We have like a little hole in our weld. Okay, it's just a chair. What can happen? Nothing bad, I would say. Just maybe the chair will fall down in a few years. But if you have a pore in a weld that is inside a nuclear reactor, then that's another story. So there is always, a question of material, process, and properties and requirements that you have. So your question is a very difficult question. I think I don't have the straightforward answer for that. Materials are as they are, and they react to what you do to the materials. So it's a question of understanding how they behave, and why these behave like this, why they have these properties, and so on.
Well, I think it's a very important research that you have done, and particularly when you look at nuclear reactors, that is very important to know how the materials react. And I guess like if it comes to airplane industry as well, it's very, very important to know how the material react because it will affect the people. It is,
there are critical sectors that, of course, it's very, very important that we take control of this.
I got another question here. In fact, you can.
Jorge, hello. Asunción, hello.
Yes.
Okay. In English, no? In English.
Yes.
They ask us question through our website. The question is, the aluminum is it possible to weld it? The aluminum?
Yes, definitely. It's possible to weld it.
Is a material very difficult or is easy?
It's not very easy, I would say. If we have to rank the materials, this aluminum is not the most, the easiest one. You have to take some caution. For example, you have to bear in mind that you have to keep for example, any oil, any, humidity. So you need to have the material very clean to start. Otherwise, when you have the arc striking, then this fat or this oil decomposes, and then you can have hydrogen entrapped inside the material. Is the same as can happen with water. Then with the arc, we can break the water into hydrogen and oxygen. And then in the molten aluminum, the solubility of hydrogen is super high. And then you can have a lot of hydrogen inside the well. And that's the main problem that one of the main problems that we might face with the aluminum, that you have some cracking because of this and kind of ability that has the material to dissolve or to in the liquid state to dissolve the hydrogen. But of course, if you don't have a proper filler material, then you can also have solidification cracking. That's another problem for aluminum alloys. But nothing is perfect, but you can do it. You need to know how to do it, but you can do it. That's the message.
Thanks.
Another interesting question is it common to replace people with robots when it comes to welding? What have you seen in Sweden? What have you seen in general?
Well, I would say that in Sweden, in our university at Högskolan Väst, in University West, we have a division in automation. And I know that there is a lot of demand on, optimization of production and all this. And I know, I'm not involved in their division, but I know that there is a lot of demand and a lot of interest to try to find out which is, kind of optimum way. But for example, we use a lot the robot. For example, if you want to use laser welding, if you want to use the laser, it's not that common that you can have an operator inside the cell because of safety, because the laser light is not visible for us. And we could be, blind because of the laser light. So, for example, we need robots for laser welding, and we can use robots also for automated welding with TIG and MIG. So it's quite common, I would say. But when you go to, there is like two kinds of businesses, There is a big business also in the on-site manufacturing. When you see a company, doing some welds in the beams of a building, they cannot bring a robot to that place. So there is still a lot of manual welding. And I think that we shouldn't see this human and robot as a kind of competition because of course, everything has their own field, and all the options are really valuable. So it's just a question to find which is the best one for the moment, for the specific application. So, for example, I wouldn't like to be a welder inside a nuclear reactor. But if we sent a machine, we sent a robot and we manipulate the robot in the distance. So that, I think it's a good thing. But also it's impossible to replace the humans completely. We need to check what the robots are doing and if they are working properly and so on. So but I know that there is nowadays a trend in using robots, and I see the application for that, and I see the reason for that. But we don't have to forget that the humans, we are not possible to replace, so we will be always like in charge somehow. And there are applications where the robots cannot, replace us.
I think that is quite a good thing, isn't it? Because some people might be worried about everything comes to robots nowadays. And I think there are quite a few companies in Sweden that are producing robots, am I right? One is ABB.
Yes.
Do you know anything about it? Yes. Which other companies are producing robots? Do you know anything about it?
Well, I know that we have had a very nice collaboration with ABB in, for example, in master thesis. They are supporting some students, and they are interested in research and collaboration with us. I personally know about ABB, but probably there might be other companies in Sweden. In fact, we have every year the Automation Day at University West. I think that it will take place on the 2nd of December, and I can send you the details so that everybody can, in the distance, your audience can see in the distance how is the Automation Day in our university, and you will see manufacturers and the new products and everything related to robots and to automation. So I can forward the link to you afterwards, Jürgen, and maybe you can find it interesting to distribute to your audience.
For sure, because I think you haven't told you already that we're going to have a webinar with University West next Saturday, and it will be very interesting to have the information for that date. So I can imagine, like, to move from Spain to Sweden must have been quite a big step. And how, like, was it different? Like, to live in Sweden, what is it like? How is it to have children in Sweden?
Okay, well, that I would need like more than 2 years to speak about all that experience now. But it's, it has been a nice experience. As always, there are always challenges in a bureaucracy. For example, when I started working for University West, I had, but I was still living in Spain. I had a coordination number, and then when I moved to Sweden, I had this other, the person number. And then the bank and the social insurance, all they thought that I were two different persons. And then, also the bank. So, there are funny stories, because they thought that I was a different person. No, I'm the same one, but this, I was living in Spain before, and now I'm living in Sweden. And but in the system, as there were two different numbers, they made kind of collapse in the system, but no problem. But I think Sweden is a very nice place to grow a kid. And I think that here in Sweden, child care is very well appreciated, and then you have a lot of benefits to take care of your of your child. I mean, you have days in case that your child is sick, you have 3 days for that, and the parental leave, of course, nothing to compare to Spain. In Spain, until recently, women only had 16 weeks, and in Sweden, the parental leave is shared, it's men and women, and it's nearly 1 year. So, I mean, it's a lot of good things in Sweden, definitely. But of course, there is nothing to compare. If we look at the weather, there's nothing to compare with Barcelona, my beloved city. Nothing to compare. Or also, our Spanish food is difficult to find here in Sweden. But, these are like minor things. To me, the most important thing is to feel fully integrated, and I feel it in my work. But now I want to feel this full integration also in the community. I'm trying to learn Swedish. Distance-based courses, because I'm very busy and I don't have time to go to campus classes. But I will start my 4th course soon. But I must say that I'm progressing in a very slow path. But I'm never give up. So I hope I will manage in the near future. Yeah. So
it's good. That's good to hear that it's not impossible to integrate in the Swedish culture if you don't know Swedish. I think that is fantastic, because some people think that it's a little bit difficult, but it's not that difficult according to your experience. The Swedish people got quite a good English level. Or what's your opinion of that?
Yeah, definitely. Swedes have an excellent English, and then that's why you can communicate to everybody, mostly everybody, in English. That's not a problem. But I think that unless you really speak Swedish, you cannot feel fully integrated yourself. And probably I have never been in Colombia, but I think that if I see Colombia maybe closer to Spain, and we tend to be open and we tend to speak each other, and maybe you are waiting for the bus or waiting for the train, and then you get the best friend there because you say, oh, the train is late, and then you start talking to each other. And here in Sweden is it's different. People are more calm and don't tend to have like spontaneous communication in the same way. So yeah, I mean, but I think that at the end of the day is a personal feeling, and I think you can feel very well here, and you can have your friends at work, and you might have neighbors and other acquaintances around. So it's. And I must say that our working environment is really friendly, and it's also very international atmosphere. We have people nearly from all around the world, and then it makes maybe integration at work quite easy for anyone. Yeah, so that's my point of view.
Oh, great. But it seems to me like you like Sweden, am I right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
And another thing I was looking at. So when it comes, there are many very good universities in Sweden. But why University West? Like why did you choose them? What did you find interesting about University West, and why not another university in Sweden?
Well, in fact, when I came here, it's, as I explained earlier, it was mainly because Professor Leif Carlson, he was joining the IIW, the International Institute of Welding meetings, and he was working here, and then he gave me the opportunity to be here. So when I landed here, I was not aware of the other universities and so on. But now that I have been working for some years here, I can really see that we have quite unique profile, because we are really doing research hand in hand with the industry. So there are a lot of other universities, excellent universities, but something that defines us is that we work closely related to industrial projects. Our main funding ways are connected to the industry. So I think that makes our research quite unique, and at the same time, this industrial-oriented capability that we have is a benefit for us as researchers, but also for industries to go ahead in their evolution and in their advancement. So I think that this makes us quite unique at University West, our collaboration with the industry in the research. And then in the education, from the educational perspective, we have a profile called work integrated learning. So our bachelor degrees, during our bachelor, our bachelor degrees, our students have the opportunity to spend periods in the industry during their studies. So, from both sides, from the research, but also from the education, we are hand in hand with the industry. And I think this is the aspect that maybe defines us or makes us different from other universities in Sweden.
And I think that is a great thing, because I can imagine that it helped, that these things that you're telling us about, that you are very closely, got a lot of connection with industry, and the people working in the industry while they're studying will help them to find a job afterwards, I can imagine.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't have the figures with me, but I think that the integration, this integration from our students in the industry is like we have higher rates of quick integration in the industry after completing the studies. I don't have the figures with me, but I have read about that.
And when it comes, we were talking a lot about your PhD studies. What have you seen? If you compare to do a PhD study in Sweden and in Spain, what's the difference?
Oh wow, there are hundreds, thousands of differences maybe. Here, let's say in Spain, your status is okay. You are a student, so you don't get any payment unless you are working in a specific project, and that project has got some granted. But maybe you can get, when in my age, when I was like in that age to do the PhD, it was like maybe 1,000, maximum 1,000 euro, maximum. But in Sweden, the postdoc, the PhD position, the doctoral position is, you have a working place. So you are part of the university, you are staff of the university, and then you get a salary, really a salary that allows you to live, not to survive, but to live. So it's good salary, and also healthcare and all these benefits. And that is not the way at all in Spain, at least in my time there. And as I also mentioned, I was a kind of strange PhD student. Now I know that there is the figure of the industrial PhD student, but when I started my PhD studies, that was not recognized. And then I had to use my free time to do my PhD. But here in Sweden, if you are a doctoral, an industrial doctoral student, you have time from your company to allocate to your studies. I mean, there are like hundreds of differences, and definitely much better here because of all this funding that you get, and because of all the benefits that you at the end you can get if you do it here.
And another thing, when you compare like a Colombian student with a Spanish student, there are quite some differences. But a good thing if you're a PhD student is that after you've done a PhD studies, which is about 5 years in Sweden, then you can apply for the permanent residence in Sweden, which is quite good. And then I think after 2 years you can become a Swedish citizen. I believe it's quite good. So Asun, what are you doing today? What's your position at the university?
Yeah, today my position is what you mentioned in the beginning. I'm officially senior lecturer. Mm-hmm. So it means that I'm, I have a permanent position here in the organization. So I'm part of the staff, permanent staff. Mm-hmm. And then I'm in charge of the welding metallurgy course in our Master in Production Technologies. Mm-hmm. And I'm participating in different research projects dealing with different type of steels, as I described earlier. So that is what I'm currently doing now, trying to also establish collaboration with the industries, and also trying to establish new networks with other universities worldwide. So that is what I'm focusing now.
Oh, great. So, Cesar, well, I know that you're quite a busy person, Asun. Cesar, have you got any question for Asun?
Yes. Yo tengo una nueva pregunta. La voy a intentar hacer en inglés. Mi inglés no es muy bueno, pero me voy a arriesgar. Así que, pues, bueno. Have you worked on materials to solder electronic components? This is my question.
No, I have never been into that business of micro components or this welding of micro components. No, I haven't. I have some general background on that, but I have never been involved in that kind of welding. Yeah.
Is the ¿cómo se dice? It's very interesting the welding the component electronics. ¿Cómo se dice? Se usan robots, ¿no?
You use robots, yes. Or not? Do you use robots when it comes to this area, Asun?
For the electronic components, you mean for these plates? For the electronic plates, is that your question?
Yes.
Yeah, that goes everywhere, even inside the computers, inside our mobile phones, inside everything that runs nowadays with current. So that's very interesting field, because every time the components are smaller, and then here probably we need to we need the robots for sure to have this high precision and so on. But I have never worked on this field, unfortunately.
For me, it's magic. It's very magic.
The use is when it comes to robots, quite amazing, isn't it? What a robot can do nowadays. So, Cesar, have you got any more questions for Asun?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So, Asun, well, we would like to thank you for taking the time to be on ecoradio.com. And I think a lot of people have heard about very interesting things about University of West today, that you're very well connected with the industry, which is a very, very good thing if you'd like to stay in Sweden after your master's studies. That's pretty much what the program been about today. So I'd like to thank you, all of you, and been great to have you here with us, Asun, today. And thanks ecoradio.com. And if you want to, yeah. So our website is www.institutonordico.com, and we're also on Instagram on inordico, INORDICO. Well, that's where you can find us. So, Asun, thanks for your time today, and I hope you have enjoyed it as well, and it's very interesting to listening to you.
Yeah, thank you very much to you all for your kind invitation. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Ecoradio.com, otra forma de hacer radio, una emisora diferente, con contenido especializado. Sigue toda nuestra programación en www.ecoradio.com. Ecoradio.com amplía sus fronteras digitales. Por eso te invitamos a que te suscribas a nuestro canal de YouTube Ecoradio, en donde encontrarás los mejores programas, el mejor contenido y podrás escuchar nuestra señal online www.ecoradio.com, la vitrina del talento latino. Estás escuchando Ecoradio.com, la vitrina del talento latino. El mundo entero hace eco en Ecoradio.com, otra forma